her up. She is the founder of Black Film Allegiance. And we'll talk a bit about that. I'm not even going to cue that up. But she's the founder of Black Film Allegiance, but she's also the development manager for Monkey Paw Productions, which is Jordan Peele's production company. So, but the reason that she's moderating this is because she's an industry insider, but she's also a Black woman rising. So this is an opportunity for her to like politic with her peers, but also offer insights based on her experience. And this is gonna be like some for real Black girl magic. So if you guys are on the outside, y'all might wanna move to the inside, because we about to be family right now, okay? So without further ado, let me hit up my girl Elon Washington. Come to the stage.
Thank you, Desiree. Thank you so much for having me.
Such a pleasure, such a pleasure. So you were with us yesterday with Getting to the Green Light.
I was.
Dropping gems for the filmmakers, letting them know how to put it together, how to present their packages. So today, you're going to be talking to people who, they have their stuff ready, they're inspired, they're putting content out. A lot of them have really great followings. So now we're going to get into A, their content, and then B, we're going to get into who they are and what they want to do.
Looking
But
forward to
first,
it.
let's talk about you. So let's first, the really cool thing about Elon is that she was passionate already about how to help other people navigate because she had her own experience navigating. I'm telling her story. But navigating in the industry and breaking into Hollywood, and so she was passionate about that, so she started Black Film Allegiance. But apparently through all of those connections, she ended up at Monkey Paw, but Black Film Allegiance is her baby. So let's talk a bit about Black Film Allegiance.
Yes, so just like you said, Black Film Allegiance was something I started because I'd recently relocated to Los Angeles and I found it kind of difficult to navigate best ways to make new film friends in that space, but I definitely wanted to meet other like-minded filmmakers, specifically filmmakers of color, and so I founded Black Film Allegiance, and that is how I met my first industry connections, and the following ranges from like newer filmmakers all the way to industry professionals, so it's been really exciting to see it grow in such a short period of time. And basically, the page is something that started on Instagram, but it was something that I wanted to use to promote new and upcoming filmmakers and highlight their different genre focuses and passions and personal goals so that other people could have an opportunity to work with them, reach out to them, and kind of see some of their material as well. So we also have a website, bfallegiance.com, and you can look on there and see some of the content and also follow us at the same BF Allegiance at all of our social media platforms.
Okay, so I'm a filmmaker. There's all of these things that I got to figure out, right? I'm not a filmmaker yet. Y'all inspiring me. But there's all these things that I got to figure out. I don't know where to start. What do I reach out to Black Film Allegiance for?
Number one, I love when people reach out when they're newly relocating to LA. Or if they're thinking about it and they're not sure and they're in another part of the country and they're trying to decide if the move is the right thing for them. And so it gives them an opportunity to kind of see other people's experiences or reach out to people that are already in Los Angeles and kind of make a network there in advance. So that's one great reason. Another is specifically if you are local, to have the opportunity to promote some content you're already working on. I like to share people's reels or whatever new clip for any project that they're working on, but also film festivals, of course, just like this one, because we love Capital City Black Film Festival and all film festivals that focus on filmmakers of color. And so we like to feature that as well, and specifically if it's someone who has a project screening at a festival, please always share that with us too, because we want to promote you to make sure that other people come and support you as well. So those are like the top main ones, but also you can just follow and support if you want to see other opportunities for submissions or panels, because we feature that too. So if you want to submit to a fellowship opportunity or diversity program, we'll feature all of that.
That's awesome. So you're basically the plug.
Exactly.
Yeah, lack of better words, you might want to rebrand. I don't know, but no, absolutely. I think that's phenomenal, and the whole premise of why we do this is to like plug African American filmmakers into the resources that they need, because we understand that a lot of us are starting from scratch. We don't have the money, we don't have the foundation, and we are like legit telling our family like, no, but for real, like this really could be lucrative in like 12 years, but like y'all gotta rock with me. And so because of that, we need a lifeline to tap into, especially when we've gotten so far. And we feel
Exactly,
like it's time to make
exactly.
that transition. So,
It's so
transition.
important.
So,
It's really important to have that sense of community because I think that we relate to each other in a very specific way when it comes to that, or dealing with parents back home and explaining what that is, or determining what your plan should be, because it looks different for a lot of different people depending on what your area of focus is. So finding mentors in those different aspects are really important too.
no, absolutely. And so, like, tell me. So you got Black Film Allegiance is popping. You know, everybody is hitting you up. How do you end up at Monkey Paw?
So it kind of was two separate things that happened at the same time. While I was building Black Film Allegiance, I had an internship opportunity at Monkey Paw. And so I was building that at the same time and kind of having an opportunity to meet execs at different spaces. And then I would be there interning, doing coverage, and they would be like, wait, how do you know that person? And it would be through the page. So it was just kind of something that happened at the same time. And through another internship at the Mission Entertainment, another great company in Los Angeles, they actually had a connection with the development coordinator at the time at Monkey Paw. And I met with her, and then I interned there, then became the development coordinator myself, and then now development manager.
Uh, okay, yeah. So okay. So I'm not gonna take like the whole thing to talk about you, but I do want to ask you. So what would you ideally, if you could be doing anything? Like if somebody came and knocked on your door and was like, "Hey, I got the best opportunity. I'm answering your prayers." What is it?
Exactly what I'm doing now, but also with the next steps, which you already know I'm extremely passionate about, the mentorship aspect. So it's something that I really wish I had, and every time I take a meeting with someone, they say the same exact thing. The access to these spaces and having that information is what's most important. So we're working on starting a mentorship program, and if you go to bfallegiance.com, you can subscribe to it, and we'll send you out more information as it develops. But we're working on collaborating with different people to kind of see the best way that should be facilitated. But I want to model it similarly to like Big Brothers Big Sisters, but for adults and for people pursuing the film industry. And I think that would be really helpful, especially for filmmakers of color, because a lot of people not only don't have access but don't know anyone in that space, and it's just really helpful to see someone show you that it's possible.
That's awesome. So who was the person who showed you that it was possible? You weren't ready for that,
I
huh?
yeah, I wasn't, but I've been blessed to have a series of great people that kind of
Okay.
showed me that over time. It started with excellent teachers. Even in my undergrad, Amy Angiri was an excellent professor in school. Tara Jackson in my graduate program. It's been a series of excellent professors, but also kind of just I came in kind of at the right time, which everyone now has that opportunity too. These last 5 years have been an incredible time for filmmakers of color, and so to kind of see like Jordan Peele and different filmmakers of color, Ryan Coogler, Issa Rae, see their journey that's been happening. It's just it's inspiring, and it shows you that not only is it possible, but it's a continuous change that's not just going to be a phase or a fad like a lot of people thought it would be. We're not going to let that happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I already know, like in 5 years, Black Film Allegiance is gonna be like the big thing.
Thank you,
And
Desiree.
I really hope that it grows and that you are able to tap into other people who will feed into Black Film Allegiance, so your resources will be bountiful. So that's awesome. I'm
you.
going to exit, but I want to, if you don't mind, welcome up the ladies that we are talking to today. And I guess I could call you guys out. We're missing one. She's going to like slide in like the 5 heartbeats. So first we're going to welcome Dallas native Seckeita Lewis up to the stage. The project that she's going to be presenting today is 100. Then we have Munich Jones. And the project that she's going to be presenting today is, dang, it has the word F-boy in it. And it's like F-boy magic, or F-boys better get out my DMs, or F-boys all in my text messages. And yeah, so she's good. She's going to talk about that. We also have Tasha Edinburgh, and she has an upcoming documentary called Take Back the Crown. Join us, Tasha. And we got to big up Austin, right? We got to have an Austin person up here representing. So we have Tia Williams, and she has a series right now that's coming out called Gentrified, and it's about the gentrification in Austin, but from a whole different perspective. So welcome. And y'all are going to shift over as I get up and leave that one over there open, and I'm going to go. Take it from here.
Thank you, Desiree. Let everyone get situated. I'm so excited to be up here with you ladies. I'd love to start off and hear more about you guys and what your journey experience has been. Do you want to go from this way forward and kind of talk about your experience with filmmaking, if you chose film or film chose you? Love to hear your story.
Hi everybody, Seckeita Lewis. I'm originally from Chicago, Dallas native now, and I think my journey to film has been very interesting. It's been circuitous. My background is in electrical engineering and in marketing, and I think that the bug bit me and chose me to kind of to keep going with it. My first feature is called Jericho, and that film was here at the Capital City Black Film Festival in 2016. Won best feature, and so since then, my husband is my filmmaking partner, and so we've just been continually working on what's the next thing that's important to us, and that's what we're going to share with you guys today.
Hi, my name is Sophia Jones, and I am a writer and creator of Juntland. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Juntland is a series, a largely satirical series of animated and live action shorts that are centered around women, specifically Black women. And I think the arts chose me from a young age. I grew up in the theater. My mother was an actress, still is an actress, award-winning stage actress. And so I grew up under that whole willing suspension of disbelief. But I think I gravitated towards film in the end, even though I love everything about stage plays and the productions. But I don't know, I got bitten by the film bug, so that's where I landed.
Hello everybody, my name is Tasha Edinburgh, and I guess, well, I'm a new filmmaker, so I guess film chose me. So my piece is a natural hair documentary, and it talks about the brands and influencers, stylists, and clients about how they have all worked together to catapult the natural hair movement in space. As you can see, we're represented well, whether it be on commercial, TV, there's nowhere you can go and not see a naturalista. So I'm so excited to be sharing this piece with you. This is my baby. I'm totally sleep deprived right now from just trying to kind of wrap it up and get the project done. So I'm so excited for everyone to see it. But yeah, I love it.
Alrighty, so I wasn't sure if this was on, but yeah, so I'm Tia Williams, and I was actually born here in Austin, raised in Houston, and then bounced back here and kind of followed in my mom's footsteps. I'll say that film actually chose me. I've always been a bit of a creative, and I kind of struggled with figuring out how I could add to social justice through my gifts. And I started out kind of writing short stories, and someone I was with at the time told me, you know what? These are very descriptive. You should take a look into film. And I took a class at the Austin Film School here, and South by Southwest came around. I was a part of that, and then since then I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I'm going to do it, and I don't care about anything else. So Gentrified is a web series about gentrification, not just an issue here that's impacting Austin, but everywhere. Brooklyn, DC, Atlanta, LA, Oakland. A lot of places where we're kind of being displaced. So I wanted to create something that kind of took the politics out of it, but spoke more to the emotional impact that's kind of happening to us. So yeah, I'm super excited about the project, and like you, I'm sleep deprived. We were talking earlier about running, but yeah, I'm excited. It's almost here, so.
Thank you guys. And Jabree Webber will also be joining us momentarily, but we'll have her introduce herself when we're screening her project. So we also have content from each of these ladies that we'll be screening as well. And let's start with Seckeita.
So 100 is the project that we're working on right now. And it talks about obesity and diabetes. It features a man who's recently diagnosed with diabetes, and it really features what his journey and struggle is and how he's going to go about overcoming that. What you're going to see is a teaser, a concept trailer of the film that really focuses in on the darkness that goes along with this disease often, and will really focus and showcase how he can turn things around in his life.
I got niggas go to the restaurant, order everything on the menu except for thank you, please come again. You know, most people just eat to get full. He ain't get tired.
I made dinner for us. What happened to you?
God damn, bro, you're a big fucker there, man.
You can't change the order, so they gonna have to still shift back over
So,
because Jabree needs to be at the end.
okay, so we're going from this way.
We're starting with her, then we're going to Tasha, then Tia, then Manira, then Jabree.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
There used to be a time that I could get my arms all the way around you. I lay in that bed every night, and you stopped breathing at me 20 times. And you gasped for air, and I lay there helpless, wondering if you even gonna make it through the night. You know, sometimes I wish that it was another woman instead of another goddamn breezy bag. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of all the lying. I'm tired of your excuses. You will not drop dead on my watch.
Excellent work, excellent work. And we have Mr. Brandon Lewis with us, actually the star of the film. So shout out to him. So yes, what I appreciated the most, on top of the extremely gripping and important content, was that you integrated comedy into there also. You want to talk about that decision?
Sure. I mean, this is a passion project for Brandon and I. He was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2015, and as we were, really grappling with what does that mean, what lifestyle changes do we have to make, we decided to pour that into a script because we knew that we weren't the only ones dealing with that in our family. And so Brandon's a comedian, and as we were working through that script, it's really something that when we talk about being overweight and obesity, it's something that we laugh about, right? Like if you go to any comedy show, there's a tons of great funny jokes that are part of it, and it's funny until it's not funny, right? It's funny until our family members are dying because of some of the choices that we make that are complicated with genetics and all the other reasons why diabetes is so rampant in our community. But a lot of it are things that we may be able to fight against. They're choices that we make that are a part of it, and we make light of it so much in our community. Everyone has diabetes, right? It's something that we don't talk about, and it's almost consider it inevitable. Like, oh yeah, of course, they got diabetes, everyone has it. And so in the film, we wanted to use comedy to almost make us think about the fact that, well, it's not really funny, right? You're watching this person gorge himself. You're watching this person struggling with an addiction and struggling with something that's killing him. And so that's why we wanted to put that in there, just to kind of play with both sides of your head. Like, we like satire, and we like that, but it's a very dramatic piece, but we wanted to use that to really make people think.
How does us having a social message inspire your creative as a whole?
Well, when we began our company, we really wanted to make films that will impact change or inspire someone to take an action. It may be an action to, just to laugh and have a better day, but with this particular project, it's an action that we want people to take up the mantle with us. Our goal for the film, Brandon is personally committed to a lifestyle transformation for himself, and we wanted to put that into a script and on screen to take people along with us, to inspire other people to make those changes. So it's entitled 100 because Brandon's personally committed to losing 100 pounds to help change his life. And so that social impact, the ability to hopefully inspire other people who think, I can't do that, right? There's no hope for me. I got what I got. It is what it is, and I'm just going to be this way. We're hoping that this film will help them say, well, if he did it, I can do it too.
Which is absolutely incredible. So what are some of your hopes with the project, and where you hope that it'll end up next?
Well, so we are in the development stage with this project. So this is what I would call a concept teaser or a proof of concept for the project. And so we're now in development. We are working through pitching our project in order to raise funding to get the film to greenlight. And so there was a panel yesterday getting to greenlight. We are in that process of getting the project to greenlight to be able to get to production shortly and get this film made.
Okay, I won't take up all of the questions because we are going to open it up to the audience afterwards. But thank you so much for that. We really enjoyed it. So Tasha, you want to talk about yours?
So my project, like I said before, is a natural hair documentary, once again, where it talks about, the brands, influencers, stylists, and clients. So this actually started with my actual natural hair journey. I was in transition, and I don't know if we have any naturalists in the house, but y'all kind of
Been
know.
there.
Yeah, so y'all kind of know what that's like, right? So we kind of be prolonging like the big chop process. Well, I had a great opportunity to meet Miss Jabree from Natural and Curly. So she invited us out to Texture on the Runway in New York. So yeah, I said, okay, well, we'll be there. So I showed up at Texture on the Runway, and I saw all of these beautiful black women wearing hair color, all kind of styles. Big chops was on deck, and I was like, oh my God. I said, yes, when I get back, I'm cutting my hair off. Well, I cut my hair off, but I didn't realize that I had 4C hair. Yeah, so y'all know about that, right? That 4C, I was like, uh-oh. I don't know necessarily what to do. I didn't know anything in reference to the texture. I didn't know anything about the products. I was just thinking in my head, hey, I'm going natural. I done been motivated and encouraged to cut my hair off. I'm good. So you thinking you got all that pretty hair? And that was a no. So I said, okay, let me see what's going on. We started reaching out to some of the brands, only just because I wanted to find out like what was in the products. So from there, it kind of just brought us into the, influencers, how the brands actually work with the influencers to get their actual information out to the clients. And then we couldn't leave the stylists out, only just because the stylists were getting upset about the influencers providing information in reference to taking care of natural hair. But then the clients were saying, well, we can't get the stylists to actually fix our hair. So this is a piece that kind of shows how all of that kind of worked together.
Well, I have several questions, but let's show the content first.
The natural hair movement is $1 billion business, encompassing everything from product brands to social media influencers, stylists, activists, hair show conferences, and everything in between. In this film, we highlight the brands, natural hair movement.
A woman's hair and what she chooses to do to her hair is an outward expression of a lot of things beyond just how she wants to wear her hair. And so that's why I feel that the natural hair movement is really more than hair. It's really about women of all ages, in all seasons, truly learning to embrace their own personal version of beauty from head to toe.
I went from people giving them a card to, oh no, I don't want that, to going through a whole month and not seeing one natural head, to now, just walking in a restaurant anywhere now, and out of, 10 people, 8 of them are natural.
I mean, there used to be a time where if you go to work or if you try to interview for something on television and you had your natural hair, you might not have necessarily been accepted and received the role.
I've just seen more and more women excited about their natural hair, willing to share the story, and I think it's gone outside of hair now. Whereas before, maybe we had some smaller groups that they've always been natural, it wasn't anything new to them. But now it's becoming more like, no, why isn't your hair natural? It's almost like it's flipped.
What motivated me to go natural is seeing other girls have natural hair and seeing how beautiful their hair was and seeing them embrace their natural texture. Because I know me growing up, I was so conditioned to just having straight hair because straight hair equated being beautiful. Having your natural curls deemed as being like unkept hair.
They say black people have been in America about 400 years. It's been natural most of that time. So I'm not sure if it's a phenomenon, but maybe it's a coming back.
I don't think that this is a fact at all. I think that it's kind of come from a circle. And I don't see it's not going to change. Like, we're going natural in numbers and droves, and it's not going to change. Some people will go back to creamy crack, but you'll see that they circle back around and they'll end up going natural again. I don't think that this movement is temporary at all. It's here to stay.
Well, starting with social media. When I started, there wasn't Facebook. You didn't have Instagram. You can hire a blogger to pop off your line and get you going with your business. It was definitely a different world. It was a very small niche kind of community.
A lot of brands are, have transitioned from using, like big name models and celebrities to using YouTubers because the YouTubers can really connect with the consumer in a way that the traditional advertising hasn't necessarily done with this audience.
I mean, social media marketing is the cheapest way to market. If your business is not using influencers to market, you are really missing out. They have replaced celebrities. People do not buy product without their recommendation.
People fail to realize that thanks to influencers and YouTube, companies no longer have to have full-blown ad campaigns or pay for commercials.
If you think about it, channels to communicate with people have been controlled by radio and television for so long. So if someone had a story to tell, if someone wanted to talk about natural hair, they had to get some sponsor, they had to get some producer, they had to get a radio show and sell some commercials. There's a lot of things they had to do. They don't have to do that now.
And when I came out and started kind of blogging and doing, my videos and stuff, I realized that I had to be different because, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say this or do this, but like a lot of times brands were telling me to say something, I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, can't bullshitter. Like, this is like, how are you going to tell me? Like, I know that what you're telling me to say is not true, and I'm not going to say it.
First in the entire country, the right to wear your hair however you like is now law in California. It's called the Crown Act, and it's supposed to protect people in workplaces and schools from racial discrimination based on their natural hair and style choices. That discrimination tends to target people of color, mainly black people. So now styles like afros and braids and twists and cornrows and locks are protected. I asked you here today because we need to talk about something. New grooming policy. Due to recent inter-office tensions, we have a new policy. And this is no curls, no kinks, and no locks.
I have the great fortune to work with women that appreciate and love natural hair and curly hair, and it's very professional. And there's no right way to wear it or style it. It's the hair on your head. I think on one level it's outrage and anger. You know, this is who I am. Why can't I participate in the workforce this way? Or why is my child, you know, my kindergartner, why can't they go to school because they have locks?
What's wrong, baby? Did somebody do something to you?
My teacher said that my hair was distracting and all the kids were laughing at me. Mommy, can I get my hair straight, please? I don't like the other kids.
Baby, we're not gonna straighten your hair. There's nothing wrong with being a little different. Dear Miss Jess, could you please make sure Kayla's hair is combed and properly styled before coming to school? Her hair, as it is a distraction to the class and other kids. Maybe a relaxer or other more traditional style would be better for everyone. I hope you understand and do the right thing. Miss Landers. Oh no. Listen, baby. You are beautiful just the way you are. There's nothing wrong with your hair or the way that it looks. It's not a distraction. You see mommy's hair? Some people don't like my hair either. But this is the way God intended it to be. Don't you let anybody tell you that your hair isn't beautiful just the way that it is. I'm going to talk to your teacher myself. Don't you worry about any of this. Mommy and Daddy love you very much. And God loves you too. Now, let's go get some ice cream. Okay?
Thank you, Mom. That really makes me feel better. I do like my hair.
We've been seeing what happens when people cannot express their natural beauty. And we're committed to people having a positive experience with beauty. And much too often, Black women in particular are suppressed because of their hair. We have research that shows 80% of Black women have to change their hair to feel that they're accepted in the workplace. So what this legislation does is incredible. It says you don't have to. You can bring your natural self to work. You can bring your natural self to school, and that means you can bring your best self and one day be Senator Holly Mitchell or more.
Tasha, that was so great. What I found really, really fascinating was the fact that you kept narrative vignettes within your story, but then you also had interviews also. So how did you go about shooting that, or how did you plan for it? Was that part of your original intention?
So no, not at first. The one thing we wanted to do was make sure that we were able to capture attention. Sometimes when you have documentaries, you really can't kind of bring the audience in as much as we would like. So really ours is really kind of like docutainment.
So we actually kind of started writing some segments so that way we can kind of do some, reenactments so people can kind of really understand, even though you are a naturalista, you can kind of take, possession of your own beauty, but you still sometimes get, a little bit, resistance and rejection sometimes.
Docutainment, I like that.
Yeah.
So when you were shooting this or when you were collecting research, did you go to a lot of hair conventions or did you get to go to any curly shows? Or?
I did, and like I said, I did Naturally Curly, but we did a lot of research. I showed up, at a lot of places. I always made sure, if there's a hair show or some kind of convention or something going on. We've been, working on the project for about 2 years, so we've been traveling the country, just kind of, gathering data, of course, and being able to kind of interview, with the brands and stylists and clients. Of course, if they were willing to. Everyone was, real receptive. So we just kind of just hunkered down. A lot of the things that you see are experiences that people have had and my personal experiences as well. I even had one of my family members actually called me Nappy at one point. Also, I visited a doctor's office. I had a lady that would not stop staring at me. So, I was asking her, was she okay? And she would not even speak. She just kind of kept looking at me and I was like, oh, okay, it's the brown afro. So. Just kind of, that. A lot of times it's really, when you're getting that, it's not necessarily someone who's not black. Normally you get the rejection from someone who is black, and I found that kind of mind-blowing. So that's why documenting this was so important, just because, we have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And I wanted to kind of capture both of those perspectives.
It'd be your own people. But you also mentioned different hair textures too. Beforehand, you were talking about how 4C textures don't get as much depiction.
Right.
How did you see more into that when you were doing research for this? Did you see that come up a lot, even with hair shows?
So it was kind of like both. So you'll get people that'll sometimes say, hey, texture doesn't matter, and then you'll get some that say texture does matter. I think in the natural hair community, sometimes we have identified one texture of hair as being more than the next, but now there's traction in saying, hey, 4C is, just as good as, someone that's 3A or 3B. I think from being a naturalist and having the most tighter curls or coils, you have to kind of just take ownership of your own beauty and not try to compare your hair to someone else. So that's probably one of the bigger things.
Or the myth that it doesn't grow. That whole thing.
Right. Yes.
So when you were talking about products and the conspiracy around that or different secrets that were on the label that we weren't realizing, what all did you discover with that?
So, with the products, the one thing I think we had to kind of go back and do from just, gathering the information and interviewing, that naturalistas have to learn kind of like the porosity levels and understanding how to apply the product and understanding that not all of the same products, would work for Seckeita that would actually work for me, and so on, that you would really have to, I hate to say it, find yourself being a product junkie. You have to almost like buy something to kind of find out if it actually works. But once you kind of understand the porosity level, once you kind of understand the texture of, your hair, then that can kind of help you more with the process. So as I was kind of gathering all the data and interviewing, that's one of the things, that we got in reference to the clients, that you have to kind of understand the whole circle of it.
Okay, great. Again, I won't take up all the audience questions, but thank you for that. Tia, would you like to introduce yours?
Absolutely. So Gentrified Again is a web series that I sat down and I created because I wanted to kind of paint a picture about people of color that are being displaced, black and brown people. The story is set here in Austin, and if you're from Austin and you live here, you know that there's been some serious changes. And I do believe that the current percentage of black Austin, I think it's like 7%, and it's decreasing every day. I've come across so many amazing women who I connect with, and then they're like, hey girl, I'm moving. And I'm like, but wait, how long? It's only about 10 of us, where you going? And it's a lot to do with, to kind of carry that weight of not being able to kind of see yourself in the city, not being represented in the city, not having places to go somewhere as simple as, hey, I want to have a drink. I want to walk into a bar and be able to feel comfortable. So I kind of wanted to paint the picture and see show people what kind of emotional impact an individual may go through. So what you guys will watch today is the actual trailer for the series. And it has 3 characters. Greta, the main character, loses her grandmother. Her grandmother leaves her the house on the east side of Austin, and she's trying to figure out how to keep this house. She doesn't have the finances. She's going through depression, all these emotional kind of struggles, and we kind of follow that story. And it also, again, 2 different characters. Dania, her best friend, who is there by her side. She's a part of the LGBT community, and because of how she identifies, her mother puts her out of her house. So she ends up living with her best friend, Greta, and of course she can't afford to move out on her own because the cost of living in Austin is so extremely high that living on your own right now is almost kind of impossible unless you're making a good amount of money out here. And then along with her, it's her brother Aaron, who kind of sees gentrification from a different lens, a different view. The way he looks at it is, hey, if I can make it out, everybody can make it out. So I kind of wanted to slice it from 3 different vantage points and to kind of tell that story that way. So again, what you guys will see is the trailer. And we are kind of close to finishing post-production. So the series will be out soon. I'm excited to announce the date.
I'm excited too. Let's see it.
I'm gonna lose this house. It's literally the only thing I love.
Ready to work today? I haven't been but that's my business.
Failing at anything in this versus I don't have the energy to fix it.
Got other responsibilities now.
Renovate the house, rent it out, and that's another stream of income. It's a win-win for everyone.
I'm not going through all of this just to be someone's face or sexual experiment.
I don't know what you're expecting here, coming here, but I'm not cleaning your conscience because you want to sleep next to that monster at night.
Through my window in the night, my pillow could talk, cry out his name. Oh, when the moon shuts down the day, memories come into play.
Use your wife or anybody else who can run me up out of my grass. Not let them enough thing.
Have you ever felt like the world was moving on without you? Okay.
This looks amazing.
I got chills, y'all. Seeing it on like a screen that big, like almost made me cry, like legit. So,
Was this the first screening?
Seeing it this way in public, yes, it's been on like our YouTube channel, but seeing it on this really huge screen kind of did something for me. So yeah, I'm fired up right now.
We're fired up too. So with you being from Austin especially, why was this story so important to tell, and what do you hope that people take away from it?
Honestly, I think that being a black woman in America, period, you go through, honestly, not feeling like you're being represented in the best way. It's hard to kind of see yourself a lot. And gentrification to me kind of adds to that, but in your own neighborhood. The gentleman who allowed us to film in his home, we were standing outside, and he has a generational home. His grandparents, their people and their people. And next to it is this house that rents for, I think, like $700 a night on Airbnb. And they were about to have to sell their home. And he told me, he was like, you know what, even if I could keep it, I don't know if I would want to because I don't feel like I belong here anymore. And so the reason that I wanted to tell this story is for people like him. It's like, okay, everybody again is looking at the politics, but there are everyday people who are being impacted by this, and who's taking care of them. There has to be something that we can do. And that's kind of what I hope people take away from it. Look at us as people, and then maybe we can start having real conversations about how we can impact change and what can be done to take care of the people who have been here, especially for Austin. Those of you who are from Austin, you know that back in the day, segregation occurred, and you actually, if you were black or brown, you had to move to the east side of Austin. You were required to live there. And now, those very people are being pushed out after they brought so much culture to that side because of money. And I need people to think about that. So.
Wow. And like you said, it is something that affects so many places in different ways, but that does seem to be the root of the evil in all the different situations. So it's amazing that you chose a location that also reflected that, and then is also presented in the narrative. So in filming in Austin, what were some of your favorite experiences on set and some of the pros in getting to shoot at home?
Honestly, it was an amazing experience. It was stressful. If you're a filmmaker, then you know, like, oh my gosh, creating, like, trying to find the fun to me was probably the hardest part about this experience. But once we got on set, being with my cast and my crew, it was like a family, and I think that's something that I will literally, like, carry with me forever. So I say that was probably the most positive thing. The hardest part, again, I think would just be funding, trying to figure out how you're gonna make it happen. As a filmmaker, you have all these ideas and things that you want to, see come to life, but if you don't have the funds behind it, you kind of can't do anything. So I'd say that was probably the hardest part.
And where can we go to follow the series, or are you doing any crowdfunding? How can we support?
Absolutely. So gentrifiedseries.com is our website. We do have a GoFundMe to currently help with post-production costs. You can also follow us on all social media at Gentrified Series, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and we will be announcing the premiere date pretty soon. And we're still talking about distribution and where our final home is going to be. So, yeah.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Munira, your turn. I'd love to hear about your project.
All right, so this is called Captain's Calling F-Boy Defense 101. And
great name.
It is, as a black woman, life can just be largely absurd. And there's nothing more absurd than dating. So this film is really a call to action for ladies around the world who might be considering compromising self-respect and sanity and just peace of mind in your body for someone who might not be the best person for you. So we can just roll the beautiful bean with it.
I invite you all into your feelings. Well, you will quickly get fucked up. My name is Tasha Edinburgh, and I save lives. What if you're in love? Fuck love! See, that's the problem. Everybody want to be a boss until it's time to control your own emotions. So how can we avoid them? Die! Don't be alive. See, look, ladies, let me learn y'all something here today. It don't matter your race, your socio-economic background, your political affiliation, your gross and net income, your religion, how many pets you own, how many kids you got, your employment status, your STD status. As long as you are breathing, you will attract fuckboys. And they are all knowing, and they are all seeing, and they are thirsty. And baby girl, you're the nectar. See, now the only thing you can do is to try to protect yourself the best way you know how. But that's why you're here today, ladies. Now let's get this right. Now I survived 3 fuckboys in the winter of 2003, and then again the following spring. And there's a reason for that. God placed me in those situations. And he placed Dontavius, Trontavius, and Richard in my life so that I can share my testimony and help other women through my ministry. And there's a calling on my life, and I'm here to answer it. I'm here because a man took my car, said he was going to the store to get some cigarettes, but he'd been gone for 4 days. Now, who knows how to fuck boy? Can someone tell me what a fuck boy looks like? Okay, you. A beautiful thick beard and excuses. Okay, good. What else? He has an Android. with a cracked screen. I'm sorry. It still kind of gets me sometimes. But that's good. That's good. The most important thing in defending yourself against a fuckboy is to be steadfast in your action. Now, ladies, I want you all to repeat after me. Do not respond to minimum effort. Do not respond to minimum effort. Do not lower your standards. Do not lower your standards. Be honest about your expectations. Be honest about your expectations. And do not make allowances. Because if the dick is gone, oh, bitch, it's a wrap. That's pretty much it.
I don't even like dudes, but this one time got my ass. So this one.
Now, ladies, this first technique is called cut the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Cut the bullshit out. It has to stop somewhere. Now, I know some of you ladies get texts at night. You up? Hell no, I'm asleep. Cut the bullshit. You ain't getting none tonight. Or WYD. What the fuck does that mean? You know what I'm saying? We 20, 30, 40 years old. I need full words, complete sentences. What are you doing? Cut the bullshit. Huh? Then they want to say, calm down. My God, you the reason why I'm up there. You know what I'm saying? You done got my blood pressure up. Not me. I didn't ask for this. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all, we gotta cut the bullshit. We gotta cut the bullshit and we gonna put it together. Okay, good. Good. There you go. Mm-hmm. Now cut the bullshit!
Hey, beautiful.
You interested in being a victim today? No?
Why you frowning? You too beautiful to be frowning. Smile, sweetheart.
Tell me what you want.
I have a name. I have a name, and don't tell me to smile.
Tell me what you need.
Tell him. Emotional intelligence. Meaningful conversation. Honesty.
My ministry ain't for the faint of heart. Everybody can't do what I do. Dig too long. Do I regret it? Every single day. I got regulars coming in and out this place in the last 5 years, still dug his head. But it's a calling. It's a calling.
That was hilarious. We're all dying laughing. So how did you get started with comedy and with this project in particular?
I don't know, comedy has just always been a part of my DNA. It's just like in the primordial soup that is me. I think most comedians, I don't consider myself to be a comedian, but I am a comedic writer. But they will say like it's born out of trauma, so I had a fair amount of that growing up, so it was a defense mechanism for me. But for this film in particular, it's just a manifestation of all of the conversations that I've had over brunch or ladies' nights, or where I was just saying the same stuff over and over and over. And I was like, I just need to make, it would be wonderful if there was like some kind of self-defense class for women, so that they could get it into their heads, create some kind of creed or something they could watch to remind them that this behavior is not okay and you need to defend yourself against it. And you know, F-boys, it's the term for today, but the characteristics and the behaviors have been around forever. Our aunties had them, my grandmas dealt with them. They were called maybe womanizers or Rolling Stones or whatever. But, you know, the terminology and the technology has changed, but this kind of stuff has been around for a long time. So I'm an advocate for, I'm an activist against fuckboy wizardry. Okay,
say that. So is this going to be an ongoing series with different situations, or?
Well, yeah, this is a part of my whole Juntland's experience. I started off with the cartoon that went viral last year, but then I think people thought that that's all I did was cartoons, so I had to switch it up on them. And this was one of the first ones that I did under the whole Juntland umbrella. But no, I do cartoons, I do live action, I just do whatever, you know, comes to me. So.
What was the relationship with the cast? How were they selected? Because they're excellent.
I know all of those ladies personally. They're not all actors. Some of them are. Some of them are singers. Bianca is a fabulous actress. She does comedy, drama. She was Catchy, the instructor. But they're mostly women that I know in real life. That some of them are dealing with fuck boys as we speak right now. I hope you're watching. This is a reminder to don't stray from the path, ladies. And then some of them were just women who wanted to be a part of whatever I was doing. So, yeah, it's a good mixture of women up there.
Authenticity.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for that. Jabree, welcome. I'd love to hear your introduction and to hear about your project as well.
Yeah, so my name is Jabree Webber. I too am an advocate for women's rights. Love that. My project is called It Happened One Night. It's a drama set in the near future, 2022, and it's about the abortion ban. And our protagonist, Tia, she struggles to find the care that she needs after a scheduled procedure. And I don't want to spoil too much, but we could definitely dive into it after we watch.
Perfect. Let's see it.
After the discovery of mass fetuses at a temple. Pro-abortion campaigners say a relaxation of legislation is needed to help stop girls and women from putting their health at risk. Abortion restrictions have not thwarted women from seeking care, not even with these extreme repercussions. Contrarily, in fact, abortion rates are reported to be higher than ever.
Hey.
How long you been up?
Couple hours.
Well, I figured you might get hungry later, so I got snacks.
I just had dinner. Thanks, though.
Go on, me.
Just how you like it.
So did you take the medicine while I was gone?
What?
I think the doctor said you could take one every 6 hours.
Oh, right.
Babe, talk to me. What's on your mind?
16.
What?
The news reported that 16 women were found dead today.
Come on,
Under any other circumstance, I would have been 17.
But you're not 17. All right, we've been through this over and over again. These people got money. T, they got money and power.
So what? I just play nice. And then I too can benefit from such an illustrious life.
Don't assume. We have no idea what these girls did. All right, they might have got themselves caught up in some mess they shouldn't have been in.
And what, they deserve to die?
That's not what I'm saying.
Then what are you saying?
I'm saying that we're lucky. Your procedure went up without a hitch. That's all we can worry about. Don't. Just relax. I got it. I need you to relax, T. So any mention of the pregnancy?
No. Or my name.
Well, I'm glad.
Philip came by to visit today.
Is he serious?
But this...
It's a check for $1 million.
I know. It's a settlement. He doesn't want to go to court, civil or otherwise.
Okay, well, I'll call the lawyers in the morning. Wow. My God, T, it's a lot of money.
You do a lot with that kind of money. Run away, start over.
Put this scandal behind us.
Us.
Yeah, us. We're in this together.
What if I wanted to keep the baby?
Well, then I would have been there for you, and I would support you 100%.
You'd still want to marry me?
I think you already know the answer to that question.
It's good to know.
All these recent movements about women's rights, there was like this eruption, and there was tons of support, but there weren't a lot of women of color at the forefront of it, you know, whose stories were being supported, who were being rooted for. But then I would turn to my same community and see so many women struggling with those same things. And I wanted to make a piece that was the perfect intersection of the two things that I feel like are really timely in this current climate, and women right now are dealing with these things, and our voices are, especially women of color, our voices are not necessarily at the forefront of these movements, and I wanted to just show what that looks like.
It's on top of everything that you just said, also there's been conversation about the idea of the man's responsibility in their ability to stay or leave if the woman then has that choice, which is an ongoing conversation that they haven't quite figured out yet, but even ideas of like having a prenup before the baby comes, all kinds of ideas that they've thrown out there. So why did you choose to leave that ambiguous about whether he'd return or not?
You know, this film is to plant seeds into people's minds. I'm not trying to get you to be for or against abortion, pro-choice. this isn't even about that. What I want to incite is for people to be more cognizant of how they're treating women, and being more compassionate for a woman in that situation. It's not even asking you to take a stance either way. It's just, if a woman does want to choose, can we support her in doing that? Do we have to make it difficult for her in that, she doesn't have safe and healthy options to even have a procedure, or there are no healthy outlets for her, even if, you personally are against it. And so that was left ambiguous for a reason, because, these kinds of things that are happening in people's daily days are kind of muddy in this way. There is no clear and right path that someone should do if in this situation. It's not so clean cut in that way. But the real thought is about that compassion for a woman who could be in that situation in a place where there isn't access to it.
And with it being such a heavy message, when you're dealing with something like that and you have talent on set, how is it directing something like that and making sure that they were in both the correct mind space for the character, but also handling it well for themselves?
Absolutely. So I'm an actor myself, and so my approach is always, I'm an actor's director. So it's always story first, character first, and then the technical components are then after that. So before we even got on set, we had rehearsals, and we talked about it. We talked about abortion. We talked about these characters and their background, how happy they were before this incident, and even what the future would look like having this money that's supposed to fix their problems. And so we got in the weeds of all of that. So by the time we got on set, they were comfortable and they felt safe to really play. And that last scene, we improvised a lot. There were times when, before we got just to what the script was, I was like, let's just riff, let's just improv and see, step away from the script and let's just go off of what you're feeling, even if it's completely off, we'll go back. And I think that just allowed for a really safe and fun experience on set.
Well, I have a couple questions for all of you, and then we can open it up to the audience. So, of course, you all directed your own pieces, and this wasn't your first time, was it, Tasha?
Yes.
That's incredible. That's incredible. That was a huge undertaking as well. For all of you, especially you, since this was your first project, what were some of the greatest challenges that you encountered, and what did you learn from them?
So for me, since this is my first piece, I actually have a partner. So the great thing about having a technical partner, he's really good in actually teaching me and showing me. I kind of got a little frustrated with him sometimes.
It happens.
I know, right? But he was really good about making sure, that I learned. So I kind of had to pull back and kind of check myself to be able to say, hey, if you want to, be able to kind of learn this, you're going to really have to kind of, take it down a little bit, realize that he's trying to help you and he's trying to feed you information. So you need to kind of, take it in. And not only that, ask more questions. I think sometimes as a woman, we kind of have a tendency to not want to ask for help because we're so used to kind of like directing and running families and doing all of this, that when we need help, sometimes we don't really necessarily want to ask for it. So I come to realize I really have to ask, a lot more questions and be open and trust my creative mindset.
Anyone else want to speak on that?
Well, I've been filmmaking for 15 or 16 years, but I went viral last year with the cartoon that I did, and that brought a lot of attention from, I checked my inbox, and people from Netflix and Hardwell and BET and all of these major production companies were trying to figure out who I was and what I was about and all of that, and so that brought a pressure. It brought expectations. I feel like that is the mother right there, because there's expectations that I have for what I want to do and what I want to produce and present and create, and then I think there's expectations for what others have of me. And so it's like trying to find a comfortable middle ground there, where I'm giving you what you want, but I'm also not giving you anything that I don't want you to have. And it's not a bastardized version of something that I, created from inception. So that has been a challenging part of this whole Black woman rising process, journey?
For me, I would say that I was in my own way. I almost didn't make this piece because I had so many fears, I guess, is what it really is when you boil it down. You know, like, oh, you know, it could be better, or I should make it longer, or I don't have enough money, or I wish, you know, I could get more support and more people, or what if I had someone to produce it? And so all these things, even though I was literally ready to go, and it got to a point where I was like, I should just make it. And if I don't like it, I'll put it on the shelf with my other 100 batch of films. But if not, you know, I actually conquered a fear.
Yeah, I have to agree with both. For me, I think because of the topic or the subject of gentrification, a lot of people have kind of come out and supported and given all this feedback, so it's brought that attention to the project, which is good, because of course you want attention, that's what you're putting it out there for that reason. But like she was saying, it also for me, it was that self-doubt, that fear of failure, like, okay, people are actually looking at this, like, what if it's not what they expect it to be? What if I fall flat on my face? What if people hate it? You know what I mean? So it's that fear of letting people down. But I also had to kind of get to a point and say, hey, this is my art, I'm gonna put it out, this is what it's gonna be, and hopefully y'all enjoy it, y'all love it. If you don't, sorry. But yeah, so that's been something to kind of get over.
For us, I think the biggest challenge was that it's such a personal topic. I mean, we're putting ourselves on display, we're showing, you know, a very personal, we're showing our weight, right? We're putting my husband on film, and so in doing this project and in the promise that we've made to ourselves, that is also the promise that we're making to the film, of losing 100 pounds. It's never been done before to put someone on the spot to do something like that in the course of a film. And so what we're doing is, you know, could be groundbreaking, and that's a lot of pressure on us, and that's a lot of fear. And sometimes we're like, okay, what are we doing on set today? We're gonna get naked on set, right? That's a big deal, right? And so that's the biggest challenge, I think, for us as we go into the project.
Okay. So we're going to get ready to open it up to the audience. I'll ask one more that'll kind of lead to what they may also want to know too. But on the topic of Black women rising, was any of this exacerbated in terms of the challenges by being a woman of color, or were there any benefits to your creative lens by being a woman of color?
For me, I don't think there were any challenges of the project by being a woman of color. I think the challenges now are getting that project to the next level, to get it out to the world, and that's a mixture of being a woman of color, it's a mixture of geography, it's a mixture of networking. So all those things that have to come together in order to elevate a project are what we're dealing with now, those challenges.
And for me, I actually kind of, agree with kind of Seckeita. I really didn't necessarily, as far as the challenges, wasn't really necessarily bad. A lot of people were actually receptive to it. So it really kind of wasn't, hard to be able to kind of look at it, from that. Right now, I think the thing is to kind of be able to, finish the project and then find out exactly strategically what needs to happen next once it is finished. Like she said, being able to put it out, but not only that, how do we want to go about doing that? And kind of, just in reference to, her part, being able to kind of, own what we're actually doing, so that way we can kind of give a little bit where we don't feel like somebody's actually going to take over and not do creatively what we actually set out for it to be.
I think for me, there was also a benefit. I think that we're at a point now where people are actually looking to see more Black women in front of you. You have Issa Rae, you have Ava, and a lot of people are kind of hungry for Black female filmmakers. So for me, for where I am at this very moment, I look at it more as it being beneficial. People kind of seek you out for that. I've gotten messages from even younger girls who are like, hey, can you be a mentor? And I'm like, well, I'm not at the part, I'm not there yet. But when I get there, sure. But yeah, so for me, I think it's been more so beneficial than a challenge, if anything.
What the part that I would say has been challenging is that we have a lot of secrets in the Black community, and so talking about these kinds of things, I have heard some people be like, oh no, that couldn't happen. But then it's like, oh, let me pull this article from CNN, it did happen yesterday. But on the flip side, the beautiful thing is that it's also made other women of color be really comfortable. I had a young girl, an international student, come up to me. She was Asian, and she said nothing, but she was just like hugging me and, you know, teary-eyed. And in those ways, it's like, you know, by putting a Black woman at the forefront, it also made other women feel comfortable enough to share this experience.
Yeah, I think we're finally at a point where the industry is starting to recognize or acknowledge that Black people, not just Black women, but just Black people are starting to see themselves in a myriad of ways. Like, we want to be the superheroes, Black Panther. We want the girls' trips movies. We want the coming of age story. We want all of the things. And I think when I did this cartoon, it made people aware that we want to see ourselves in that medium too, because we hadn't had anything since, I guess, the Boondocks. That's coming back. We have a whole wave of animated stuff coming back right now, which is really exciting. So, no, I think the playing field is wide open, and it's ours to take, ladies.
Thank you for that. We're going to open up for questions now. Does anyone have anything they'd like to ask our lovely panelists?
Knew she was going to ask a question. Okay, I just want to apologize to anyone that was here yesterday for my question. Okay, so I wanted to ask about the bastardizing, and particularly for you all having all of these personal stories. When you're going to get greenlit, I know there is some kind of moral battle inside when you know you may be sitting next to in front of an exec who doesn't really understand your story and wants to commercialize it and market it. So going up into those things and you being ready for like a feature, how do you feel as though you would combat that when you have that meeting?
I think a lot of what these ladies were saying about the industry wanting the unique point of view. And so I believe that once you get to that point, that's what they want. They want you to come in and do something that's different. And so to whitewash it or water it down in any way is going to make it not as successful. It's not, the niche is what's making it successful. And so I think for any of these projects, that's probably what's going to make them stand out and be better. And so I think if you're in the room, that's why you're in the room, is that they want to do something different.
Yeah, and it's just, you have to be your own advocate. Like, you have to say, hey, I'm here for a reason. Like, trust me, trust Black women. And just let me do what I do. And I think we are seeing a lot of shows like Atlanta on FX where they just kind of give the creatives the reins, and they just go off and they make stuff, and people like it. So I think the more we do that, you let people just do what they do, then, you know, the more we'll get it and it'll be received.
Yeah, and I think to kind of just add on to that, I think kind of, you know, once we get into the room, like I was saying, you really have to kind of be someone to kind of like stand your ground. It's almost like what Sherry was saying on yesterday. You have to be somebody to decide on if this is something that, you know, you want to do, even though you have that opportunity. If they are not kind of painting it in a way that you really want it to be presented, are you going to say, you know, yes, and kind of minimize really how you feel about it, versus saying, no, that's okay, let me see if I can find someone else.
Anyone else questions? All right.
Thank you so much for sharing your Black girl magic with us, ladies. I really enjoyed having this conversation.